Hi, hello Tube. Today we have Quicksand by Nella Larsen. I'm reading an awesome Everyman's Library edition. If you'd like your own copy, use my affiliate link down below to bookshop.org. Or if you use to buy this book or any book, you can also book it no extra cost yourself. I get a little bit of I get a little taste of the transaction. Help the channel out. If you don't want to help the channel out, you could go read this for free. I put a link to that. I'll put a link to that down below where you can just it's in the public domain, so you don't have to spend $27. I didn't spend $27 on this, but you don't have to spend $27 on the Everman. Oh, this is a nice book. I'll leave a link down below where you can just read it for free. I downloaded the PDF. It worked for me. If you get a virus, not my problem. I'm just saying. But it seems like a pretty legit site to me. Also, you could always thumbs up and subscribe and do all that stuff. Comment. I like comments. I like the nice comments. And finally, there's timestamps down below where if you don't like any part of this video, such as my stupid opening that I did, well, it's too late now. You already watched it. So, but just know there's timestamps down below. About Nella Larsen, before we get to the story, let's talk about the brilliant mind behind the story by Nella Larsen. I'm struggle busting today, alright? So this is just gonna have to deal with me. Born in 18 I have a script. I'm reading from a script. I can't even do that right today. So there we go. Now I'm doing the Shane Gillis. Alright. Born in 1891, not 1991. In Chicago to a Danish mother and a West Indian father, Larsen's mixed heritage shaped much of her literary voice. She lived through a time when questions of race, class, and identity were front and center, and she didn't shy away from she didn't shy away from them in her writing. I don't know where those coughs came from. Larsen was more than just a novelist. She was also a nurse and a librarian, which she was primarily a nurse and librarian because she didn't have this is her complete stories. It's sad because she's brilliant, and this is all we have. At least all that I know of. Her two novels, Quicksand, which we're going to talk about today, in passing, earned her acclaim during the Harlem Renaissance, but she later faded from the public eye. What's fascinating is that she became the first black woman to receive the Guggenheim Fellowship in 1930, which was a huge achievement, especially for someone whose literary output was relatively small, but massive. Her work has seen a major revival in recent decades, especially as scholars and readers revisit her stories through the lens of race, gender, and identity. Nella Larsen's Quicksand, about the story Quicksand, I still have about Sanctuary because I just reused parts like the about section. Let's go ahead and fix that real quick. We're just breaking all sorts of third walls, fourth walls, fifth walls. Nella Larsen's Quicksand follows Helga Crane, a biracial woman who moves through different worlds, Southern schools, Harlem culture, vibrancy, and even Copenhagen, in search of belonging and fulfillment. Intelligent and independent, Helga is constantly aware of the racial and social divides that shape her life, yet she never feels fully at home in any community. The novel explores themes of identity, restlessness, and the longing for acceptance, all while painting a vivid portrait of the places and people that she encounters. Rather than focusing on dramatic twists, Larsen's story is a deeply reflective journey that captures the emotional and cultural landscapes of the 1920s, making Quicksand both a cornerstone of the Harlem Renaissance and a timeless exploration of what it means to seek a place in the world. So a few things I took away from this story. Restless and dissatisfaction. Helga being, biracial, she never feels like she can fit in anywhere, and because of that, she struggles to fit neatly in a society as a whole. Also, performance versus authenticity. In this story, Larsen explores how people often perform roles to fit into communities. And Nella was, that wasn't a, Helga wasn't a stranger to that. Oh my lord. Forming thoughts just not working very well tonight. But people change their clothing, their speech, their behavior. You don't have to be a biracial woman living in the Harlem Renaissance to do this. We all have done this. We all pretty much do this now. Do I want to wear a collared shirt and slacks? No, but sometimes you have to do that to fit into where you're going or whatever, or that sort of thing. So, but with with the tension between the performance and authenticity, it just is a tension in her life for the entire story. And then there's also the religion and social pressures. The novel critiques how institutions like schools, churches, communities pose rigid expectations that can stifle individuality, which I can only assume is even more difficult when you don't feel like you fit into any community already. So I'm sure that's not pleasant. And then conformity brings peace or simply deeper isolation. But basically to jump into my thoughts, this was a hard book because I started this story off. I didn't really know anything about it, and starting the story off, I really had a lot of empathy for Helga. I keep wanting to say Nella. This is a very biographical or autobiographical story, I believe. It just kind of feels like it kind of follows her timeline some, and then so I feel like she is writing about herself, which actually is something I really like when authors do. I like it when they're kind of bringing their own life into the story. It just makes it, I don't know, it just makes it feel more real. Because I guess it is real, But anyway, started off with a lot of empathy, but by towards the end of it, I really didn't like Helga Crane, and basically nothing was good enough for her, and all these people, she had so many people throughout her life trying to help her, and she was never satisfied. There was always something wrong. She was never grateful, and it's so hard to feel empathy when people want help, need help, and then they spit in the face essentially of those who help them. And so I read this a couple months ago because I actually kind of thought about this. This was a story that I kept thinking. I don't think we're supposed to necessarily like or dislike Helga. I don't think that, or maybe we're not supposed to see her her struggles for satisfaction as a negative or a positive. But I think I think Nella wrote it in a way that she's just supposed to kind of rattle us, and that the contradictions and the dissatisfaction with everything that goes around is just kind of like, I guess it was the word, a metaphor for basically what it would be like to live biracially in the Harlem Renaissance. It's just, you're never really accepted anywhere, and it's gotta be lonely, and it's gotta be painful, and it's gotta be scary, and it's just, so after, as time has gone on since I've read that, because if I would have done this video a couple months ago, back when it was fresh, and I was just in my utter distaste for Helga Crane. I think my takeaways would be, as I'm talking right now, would be a lot different. I'd just be like, this girl sucks. She sucks. You know, she's never grateful and blah 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 blah. And now I think I have, as time has gone on, I have more empathy again, because I don't think we're necessarily supposed to like her, but I think it, like I said, I think it's just kind of a metaphor of the situation. Does any of that make sense? Probably not. I struggle bust. I know. I know. I apologize. But this is not an easy story to talk about. It's it's super short. It's only in this format. It's 124 pages. But man, in 124 pages, there's so much that goes on, and it's it's a masterpiece. What can I say? Nella Larsen. Nella Larsen is a monster. She's a beast. I should say monster, because monster would be more like she's evil. No, she's a literary beast. And I can't say it enough. If you haven't read her, go read her. I think everything's in the public domain, at least everything that I've read up to now, and I've done a video on. I've been able to find links to read the stuff for free, so you don't even have to pay anything. Go read it. It's awesome. Come back and let me know what I got wrong, and or don't read it and then just tell me down below what I got wrong, or maybe you've already read it and then you can tell me down below what I got wrong, or just tell me I didn't make any sense. I just babbled for however long this video is. That's fine too. But other than that, that's it for this one, peeps. Uh, Also, let me know if you've read this and what you thought of it. And so, cheers.